I'll be quiet. I really kind of want to get inside this decision and your thought processes. So please, sorry for interrupting.
So, decision I had to make, and I had to give that little backstory there so you would understand, is that I was not going to start that project for a month, and therefore it would be perhaps 12 weeks before any income would have been seen based on that. But now my company needs to be self sustaining because I am in business for myself. I had an opportunity to launch another author, but because of my time constraints, I let them know that I would need to speak with the person I had already committed to, and that the best that I could probably give them was 3 weeks. So I approached the client that I had already signed, um, explained the situation to them, and they were in agreement to push back a week. Um, I made the offer to the potential client that I could do a 3 week stint. Now, it was a brave decision. I want to say some people might say foolhardy, but I know myself. And because I know myself, I knew that I could do this. Um, it's been crazy. It's been a roller coaster trying to get a book formatted, which all kicked off with a cover design, and to push promotion really hard for 3 weeks. We're into the second week, so we're about to start the third. It took a lot, but it was nothing that I knew that I wasn't capable of doing, and that was a big part of the decision making for me. Is that I knew I was capable. I think oftentimes when we're not sure if we're capable, we get very afraid to make a decision. So that decision for me also, um, I had to weigh it carefully because as a new publishing company, to depending on how successful this launch would be, can make or break the start of my business. Not that I wouldn't keep going. I have no doubt, however, that this launch is going to go off beautifully and probably exceed the expectations of myself and the client, um, with your help, of course.
Yes. And that is the integrity piece. So that is, so what I'm hearing is what happened was there's a concern, a natural concern that when you move from corporate, if you will, into entrepreneurship, there was a change in your revenue generation. So anybody would have at least a touch of the fear of poverty. Oh my God, what am I going to do? That weighs heavy. But what Nick has developed through taking on the most unbelievable projects and completing them is a belief in her ability and deservability. Her faith is in herself and her ability. She's disproven the fear that I won't be able to make ends meet if she were to have that, right? By doing what she did last quarter and doing this. So rather than worrying about, oh my goodness, I really need to get this client in, she stepped back, did some thinking, thought about it, had some communications, and then was able to make a great decision. One last thing I want to ask you, Nick. What was your ultimate goal for this client and for your next client? What is your goal for these people that you're publishing? What is your desire? What is it that has you turn on to this work and what it does for people? Please.
I think after co-authoring so many books myself and working with so many publishers, I know what I wanted for myself as the writer. And while everybody wants something different, I I kind of tie in what I want as well as asking the person what they want. I need to know both. So I could deliver for them, but also introduce them to the reasons that I had for myself, reasons they may not consider.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just a matter of wanting the business to be successful. The business will be successful, of course, if you commit and deliver, right? It has to be for me about that individual feeling successful in the ways that they are looking to achieve their success. So I have to consider that. I think as a publisher now, I consider their success, yes, book sales, and of course they want to make money. I want them to be able to have walked away with such an incredible experience that they felt that the best thing that they could have done for themselves was to have a dream and make it happen.
I got it. And here's why I asked you that question. And by the way, you're hearing an ill puppy in the background. So this is another thing about Nick that you'll get to know is that even with all of that, she's still here. And so I really appreciate that. But this is moving from fear into faith. And the reason I asked you about why you did this is because decision becomes very easy when your goal is clear. A lot of times we don't have a clear goal. So when things come up, it's not easy to make a decision, but the more laser focused you are and the more clear your goal is, there's one question you can ask. And this is something that took me 20 years to learn. So, but I'm giving it to you right now. If your goal is like to bring someone to #1 best-selling author, international, domestic, in different categories, and you have a very clear vision as to why, you don't do anything that won't take you to the goal, not right now. So you ask this question, well, if I do this, will it take me toward my goal? No. Well, then don't do it now. Right? We don't have to do everything right now. And if we don't take on something because we're already booked, doesn't mean that that's going to disappear. You say to the person, hey, listen, I'm working on something right now. Can we have a conversation about that down the road? The person is going to say, sure. Or if anything changes, can I let you know? Sure. So just because we say no, it's because we don't take on anything. Is what's successful. The few out of 100 people do that won't take you directly to your goal. And that's why I asked you. That was beautiful. So let's bring up our beautiful audience here. I've never had 4 people at once. So boy, I'm kind of excited. What about you? Look at all these gorgeous people. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, look at Joni. There's Leah. There's Chris P. Hi, Chris and Michelle Bodenhorn. All right. So if there's something on your mind, and we're going to begin with Michelle, you get to share first, but I want to quickly reset what the topics are. You can respond to certainly to the way Nick explained this, anything that I've said, and understand that what I'm sharing with you is one way of looking at it. It doesn't mean that my way is the only way. It means that I got years and results, right, of people that have followed this, right? But it doesn't mean there aren't other ways. So we want to know about how you make decisions and what have you learned about decision making? What works for you? What decisions are easy for you? And do you avoid certain decisions? So I'm going to leave it right there, and I'm going to invite Miss Michelle to open her mic. And welcome, beautiful Michelle. So glad you're here. Everybody's applauding you. So what's coming up for you?
Hello. I apologize the way I look. When seasons change, I do too, just to let you know. So the last couple days, man, I've been itching to get out there and not do the whole snowboard thing. And now I need to be at the beach and my body's just tingling. So I'm constantly like in my garden right now and in the soil. It's the only way I can ground myself. or I'm a feral spider monkey. Okay.
Okay, so talk to us about decision now that we know who you
There
really
you
are.
go. I will tell you what, I am a procrastinator when I get nervous. So of course you're gonna procrastinate. Actually, I've been doing it for 5 months. And I finally have just taken honestly, you guys, each one of you, I've taken a piece of everything each one of you have said and combined it.
Oh, good.
And then I quit procrastinating. I don't know. I think it was I guess it was Thursday or what. I mean, I started school. I just started my certificates and everything. So, but yeah, procrastinate. Oh, yeah, we all do it. And it's just because we're scared of the unknown. And until we push ourselves off that cliff in our little wagon, you're going to procrastinate. And it's okay to procrastinate, though, because it's kind of like it gives you that time that I really wanted.
Well, that's an actual justification for procrastination, but I love it. Yes, you can. Of course, it's all up to each individual. This whole thing is about how can I procrastinate less and be more productive? Maybe that's the way to look at it. Now, what is
Yeah.
it? Let me ask you, Michelle. So, what is it that had made you decide to go ahead and begin your certification program? Rather than waiting another 6 months or a year, what was the goal and why did you get over your nervousness or concern and take the plunge?
I decided to stay true to myself. And then I took a little piece from each one of you guys. And I was like, what comes? Okay, I know my mind. I know what I want to do. But all right, what comes next? What do you need to get there? And I was like, oh, dang, I need this certification. I need that certification. I need to be this. No, so right on the Corsa.
And one at a time. So another important thing, right? You're not doing 2 or 3 certifications simultaneously, are you?
Oh, heck no, this brain can't do that. Again, I can do one and I can do my garden and I can yeah. If I do more than that,
you don't get anything done. This is the problem. People set too many goals and end up, buzzing back and forth and never get anything done. And if there was a process that worked for decision or goal achievement, you didn't follow it because you had all these goals. But now, Michelle, can't you take a look at the decision-making process and the strength, the confidence within you to go ahead and draw the line in the sand and begin with the first, after thinking about it, after strategic thinking, what is the next best thing? It is certification. You drew the line in the sand and you started, right? Isn't that kind of how it worked for you? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, she appears to be frozen. Nick, anything you'd like to ring in on here? Because I know you're listening. Yes.
Yeah, I took away so much of what Michelle said, and for me, the biggest thing is staying true to yourself. And to do that, you need to know yourself. For example, I'm someone that does and can take on multiple projects. In fact, I work better when I'm under pressure, and I know this about myself. If I am not doing enough to keep this crazy bipolar brain moving, then I actually make more mistakes. I've seen that in myself. So I can take on 2 or 3 different projects because I'm very organized. And I like what Chris says about laser focus, because that's something that I've worked hard on, and I will keep going until I get to that finish line. But I do organize myself. I stop to think how much time is needed for each endeavor, right? And work backwards from there and make sure that I have the time to commit to it.
Yeah, that's Covey's Begin with the End in Mind. If you're familiar with the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, when we have a party, we always start with, well, what's it going to look like? What day am I going to have it? What kind of music? What kind of food? Right? So your point is that this beginning with the end is very powerful in making a decision. Okay, so thank you for that. Now, Michelle is still circling here. So, Leah, because you were here very early and came back, Chris, if you don't mind, I'm going to allow. Oh, there you are. Oh, Michelle. Oh, she must have fallen off here. She was having internet problems. So, Leah. Hi, Leah. How is the woman of wealth doing?
Oh, it's a beautiful day. It's Money Monday. So my favorite day of the week.
Well, what about Wealthy Wednesday?
I love when it's Wednesday, then it is my favorite day of the week. So
Oh my
absolutely. And
God.
then we have Tax Tips Tuesdays and, Thursday.
How about Frugal Friday? Do you have that?
I don't do frugal. I don't do frugal. It's Financial Literacy Friday. I don't
Okay.
believe in frugality. We can have another conversation about that.
So what's coming up for you? Do you have something funny to share or a tip to share? It would be super. I can't wait to hear what you have to share, please. What's
I
coming-
wish I had a funny story. I think Joe has a funny story, but I would say for me is that money likes speed. So the quicker I make decisions, the quicker I can make decisions, the quicker I open up those opportunities. And how do we do that? We do that by knowing ourselves, Nick. I love that you said that. Knowing what we stand for, right? Our morals, our ethics, our values. So we can filter out the things that resonate and things that don't resonate very, very quickly. And Queen Dr. Leslie, you taught us to have one goal. When we have that one goal, then it's easy for us to decide the things, is it in alignment with that goal or not in alignment with that goal?
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing because what happens is through osmosis, you will achieve other goals. You will absolutely achieve those other goals. And I think that's what a lot of people miss is they think that, oh, that means I can't do this thing. Oh, that means I can't do that thing. No, what happens is those other goals are the oh, by the way. And the oh, by the way is where the gold gets golder. So that's my 2 cents. That's what I wanted to share. I absolutely love this discussion, and I am excited to learn from everyone else and all the other comments in our comments here.
I forgot money like speed. And I love that you got that while we were never really taught about goals, that you actually got that one goal. If you have one very specific, clear goal, you can always ask that question when someone says, hey, Leslie, you want to do this? Hey, Nick, you want to do this? Hey, get into this. Tell us something. Well, but it doesn't take me directly to my goal. Then I put it off to another time. But if it does, I'll do what Nick did, which is figure out strategically a way to bring in this book launch. This, by the way, Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern is the actual book launch of The Painted Canvas. Is that correct? Did I say it right?
The Silent Canvas.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, The Silent Canvas. And it's a psychological thriller. So please, 11 a.m. Eastern, Sunday, live on Nick's profile is a book launch party. That's the day you want to buy this book. And go and look at all of the different posts about that. Okay. And we'll talk about it again. But she also has today at 1:00 Eastern, an interview with Jen Lynn Jen Lynn Ford, about this book. So you can go to Jen Lynn, JENLYN, for her 1:00 live Eastern today. So back to decisions. So you have to make those decisions. Like, can you fit all these things in? I honestly make too many decisions to not do. So my calendar has only a few things on it, right? I only do the things that I'm moving toward at that time. So yeah, the other thing that that you said that I would like to address, Leah, is that, the low-hanging fruit and the things that come in, you're always manifesting. So as you're dreaming and wanting things to happen, it doesn't fall on deaf ears. The universe actually creates everything twice. Once you have that idea, it creates the full manifested version. The thing we don't know is by when it will manifest. So the phenomenon when somebody shows up with a job that you wanted 2 years ago, it's now available again, and you're in a better position to do it. So to your point, Leah, these things are always, what you want is moving toward you at the same frequency or velocity you're moving toward it. So it isn't just this one goal. In fact, one of the problems is that when you, like with Nick, she had 3 months locked in. That was a problem to bring in another launch. That became a challenge, but she manifested it. All these jobs are starting to come in because she's not busy elsewhere. It's the
Yeah.
same, right, Nick?
If I could pop in really quick, and the thing about that too is you're going to make a decision sometimes, and you have to have a backup plan, because I made that decision, right, to stand by my values and commit to the first person. That has now fallen through. So I now have 11 open weeks ahead of me. What I did not do was close myself off, right? I let people know who had been reaching out that this is when I'm available next to work with if you're willing to wait. If you're not, I can certainly refer you to someone, because I want people's dreams to keep moving. Now, I have 11 weeks and I can turn my attention to those people. So, a big part of decision making is oftentimes you're going to make that decision based on what's happening, but the situation changes and you have to be able to pivot and make another decision rather quickly. Otherwise, you're going to stop, and stopping is not an option, at least for me. Leslie,
I know. Thank you. I have a friend on LinkedIn who I have been encouraging to create a book, not a typical book, but a different kind of book. But I already knew that Nick was slammed for the year. But once that block of time opened up, we have a call with her, or she has a call with her tomorrow. So you see, there's a thing called the law of sacrifice. It's kind of it is a universal law. And it basically says you've got to give up something of lesser value to make room for something of greater value. And so when you moved from full-time into entrepreneurship, you now made entrepreneurship greater value. But you had to give up that job to do this. You can't do both. And nature abhors a vacuum. So it's not like you're not going to do anything. So Leah, that was awesome. I love this. Money likes speed. And set one goal. And now let's hear from our wonderful Chris P., who was next in line. Hi, Chris. Are you there? Are you walking?
Yes. Good morning, Leslie. I'm
Hey,
here.
thank you for your patience. Thank you, Joni, you too, and Leah, for your patience. What's coming up for you? This is a big subject, and I know you have a lot to share. So what's top of mind for you?
All top of mind for me is what's top of mind for you guys. So I got some big announcements, but I'm not here for that. I'm here because I really liked what somebody had said earlier about stealing the best aspects from everybody else. That's actually exactly what I do. And I don't just take it from, my friends, my families, and my colleagues and my loved ones. I take it from just people from history who I admire, fictional characters I admire, superheroes and supervillains, believe it or not. And I try to steal some of their best traits. Not like it is, when I say a supervillain, I don't try to be a villain, but they're smart in the way that they plan things. So, I think that's one of the smartest things I've heard anybody say on any stage ever, is just to steal the best aspects you can from the people you admire most and emulate them. Because the things you like about people the most are the things you recognize that you have in yourself already. So as long as they're good traits, amplify them. I love that.
That's really good. I would change the word steal to emulate. And to that point, I love that. In the 13th principle, Carnegie's principle of success is the sixth sense. And you would love this, Chris, if you look at this. Napoleon Hill, who wrote this book, which is the number 2 bestseller in personal development of all time over the last 100 years, did something very much like what you're talking about through visualization and imagination every night when he went to bed, Chris, and everyone. He selected famous, successful, living people: Edison, Ford, Carnegie, Woolworth, Armour, and as he was falling asleep, he visually began communicating with them and getting to know them and asking them, saying things like, so he would say to Ford, help me understand how it is you knew to push forward with the 8-cylinder engine when your engineers came to you and said it wasn't possible after 6 months. I want to learn persistence from you. And then with Abraham Lincoln, he said, please teach me. And he picked the attributes, Chris, that you're pointing to, that these were the things he wanted to learn. Now, he did this every night. And what began to happen, so you might enjoy this, their different personalities began to show up. Lincoln began to kind of walk slowly and shuffle his feet and spoke with a very low, dark voice, or low decibel voice. So we don't know how powerful our imagination and visualization is. Now, he reached a point where he became afraid and he stopped. And because it scared him. And that happened to me with meditation too. At one time when it got out there too much for them, it scared him. So he stopped. Anyway, one night in the middle of the night, and he wasn't sure when exactly this happened, but Lincoln came to him at his bedside and said, continue your work. People are waiting for it. And from that point on, he went back to the visualization and he added some 30 more people. So to Chris's point, this is exactly the way that you absorb and emulate the behaviors and energy from people who you admire. And they could be dead. They could be alive. You could know them. You couldn't know them. Who is it that you admire, that you want to be like? Chris, I can't tell you how grateful I am that you brought this up, because this is one of the most powerful lessons in Think and Grow Rich, which is the 13th principle of success. Didn't know, did you? You didn't know how good you are.
No, I didn't know it was your 13th principle, but it's something that through my writing, and you can read it on my Medium blog, I've been exploring. And in some of the Sales Pulse articles, I did the one where I talk about heroes and villains. You guys could scroll down on my page. You could read right through it. It's, me coming to a realization in real time, I guess, that I was doing your 13th step.
Well, it's not mine. It's Carnegie's principles of success. Although he did learn most everything from me. Napoleon Hill did learn a lot from me, I will admit. But that was 100 years ago. Yeah. So the good part about these rooms, I believe, is hearing this from different aspects. How Leah articulated what she understands that really works for her with decision making, which turns out to be the one goal, so that you can ask the question, right, and not overwhelm yourself. And Chris is talking about, how can we emulate the character of people we admire? Now, don't get me wrong, people with character also have fears. They're no different than you, but they've spent more time developing their strategic thinking. And as to Nick, what Nick said and Michelle said, know yourself. Nick now knows, because of some of the things she's done, that she is able, capable, and deserving. Most of us are not there. It takes a while. You have to disprove the fear that you can't do it. And that fear, any one of those, are socked in your whole life. You believe those things. Oh, Chris left. Okay, Chris, you were fabulous. Michelle is here. Let me just see here. Let me bring up, I'll bring you up, Michelle. bring you back on the stage, but I want to hear from our darling Joni. Hi, God, I love this woman. I don't know why, but you can unmute yourself and talk.
Okay. Okay. So I feel like I have multiple things to talk
Okay.
about.
Okay.
But first of all, this is a little housekeeping business. If you want to connect with anyone and you still have that feature saying, please enter the email before you can connect, you're not going to get a connection. Like, just get rid of the email feature. And you may not know it's still on, but people ask me to connect and then I try to connect with them. And then it is, so that just a little tip.
Thank you.
You
Thank
know.
you. Now talk to us about decision, my friend. Thank you for
Okay,
that. We
so
love you.
decision. One of my good traits, there are many, is I'm definitely not a procrastinator. But so, for instance, in college, I would whip through those term papers so I could go out and party and not have that weighing on my chest. But I am not super detail focused, and that also can be a hindrance. And so making sure that you have both qualities and knowing who you are in whatever you do, whether it be owning a business or you're writing a book, like, it's good to get words on paper. Like, it's good to start, like, just do it. And then, but you also really do have to do the annoying back work, like making sure grammar is right, making sure your business plan is right, depending on what you're doing. And then as far as emulating other people, I think that's a great idea, but I love live comedy. For instance, I'm watching this live comedian. There's a great place right near my house. I've kind of between here and Chicago. And this comedian is ripping off this show the movie Bridesmaids, like left and right. And I know it wasn't like meaningful, but like maybe this comedian liked it so much, they were just like, okay, it's now part of my brain. And I'm like, these aren't your jokes. They're not your jokes. So be really mindful in the fact that you have to have your own work, because there's 8 billion of us or so. Someone's going to pick that up, and plagiarism is rampant, especially with AI. And I swear to goodness. So yeah, as many of you guys know, I'm divorced and I have to deal with lawyers sometimes. They use AI to write all of their stuff because I have a checker on my computer and I'm just like, it makes me crazy. I'm like, just spend 10 minutes and write a thoughtful paragraph because that's what you went to college for. And same as, an author, we want it to be our own ideas.
Right. Well, I
very-
want to ask you something about that, because that's something to getting back to decision. So I absolutely hear what you're saying. And one of the things that's always annoyed me, and I just saw it today, is when people use other people's words and don't attribute. When they take a quote that most every educated person knows who did that quote, and for whatever, well, I know the reason. Either they don't know who said the quote, or they want people to believe that it's their quote, which is the fear of criticism.
It's easy to come up with their own quote.
Well, yes,
I
yes.
feel like, especially if you're quoting like Robert Frost or something,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
a well-known comedian joke, or you're saying something Robin Williams said on stage is like fully
Yes.
published. Like, come on, you're going to be found out, and that's embarrassing.
but yes, but yet the fear of criticism is worth the risk to pretend. But I want to get back into
It-
decisions. So what is it that when you
For decisions, I am very much I am impulsive, so I like to take on a lot of projects, and I don't like to fail at any of them, even though that can happen. So I like to like pump them out, like what I need done. But I I have to work on the kind of more the detailed organization part of it. So that is certainly, and I know that about myself. As you get older, you know where your strengths lie and your weaknesses lie. And so running a business, I know how to sell. I know how to get my crews going and motivated, and I know how to get the right supplies at the job site. But do I really care about like going back to the job site after the project's gone, done and over and taking the good pictures? No, that doesn't make me money. I already got paid. I want to move on. So I have to get better at that for sure. And so that's yeah, that's just a one thing.
thank you.
But
Thank you. Let's hear from Nick. Nick, and what's coming up for you listening to Joni? Because I just love listening to Joni. What's on your mind now, Nick, from listening to everybody? Chris and Leah and
I was
Michelle.
gonna say, not even just Joni, because everybody had a great share, and it's great to me just because it's subjective. We have experiences, and we learn and we grow. And I guess it's always changing in a way, right? You're not deviating from your core values, but like to Chris's point, like I feel like he said, sometimes you're gonna um, emulate. I like to think that, and I wrote some notes there. For myself, I like to be open to learning from anyone and everything. I don't want to ever close myself off to saying, well, I don't feel good about this thing, or somebody mentioned that person. I want to be the one to make that decision myself. And I kind of would want people to do the same for me. So, where I pick up my tidbits really and truly is what applies to me. Everybody has tidbits to offer. So, for me as well, I also think I never want to be the smartest person in the room. That's a problem. I need to constantly be learning. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but if I'm going to surround myself with people that are constantly, and this might come off a little bit weird, but singing my praises, for example, right? I'm just going to be real here. That I'm not going to grow like that. I don't need that. I need people that are going to challenge me and not be afraid to challenge me. I'm not afraid to challenge anyone. That's probably why I get myself into trouble so much. Well, no, not really trouble. I end up finding my tribe, because people that want to be real and say what they're truly feeling and be comfortable with it are the people that I want to be around. Don't want to be around other people who aren't. I don't want to have to look through the faces. And a lot of that has developed and forced into making decisions, because I think somebody made the comment about rushing to make a decision based on money. It isn't always that. It depends a lot too on a person's financial situation, but it isn't always that. There are decisions that you're going to make quickly and decisively. There are decisions, and I don't want to use the word procrastinating, that you're going to know you need to think a little bit more about. And there are decisions you're going to make impulsively and not necessarily regret, but you're going to face the consequences. And sometimes those consequences could be good consequences based on it. So I think every decision has to be taken on its own. In a sense, there is no cookie cutter for a decision making process, or even a person. And I'll tell you this, as much as I may sound from what Leslie's saying that I'm very decisive, I am very decisive. I was as an employee, I am as a business owner. But when it comes to my personal life, my taxes have been sitting there watching me for a month and a half, and I have to do them. And you would think, especially now that I am my own entrepreneur, that I would be actually looking to do that for my refund. So it's a lot on priority. And for me, unfortunately, it's also a bit about what I enjoy doing.
Yes, and you notice that you have, that's so well said. You notice that you have the one goal, which is getting your publishing company up and running. If you had chosen, let's say you were still working full time, you would have had those taxes done. Because that, so procrastination isn't necessarily a bad thing. And one of the points that I'm hearing here a lot is that there are a lot of different ways to do things. And what we're doing here is I'm sharing what I know. We're each sharing what we know. Take the best from what you're hearing, right? This happens to be an area of expertise for me. So you can count on what I'm saying that actually has been, there are results. It's been documented, but that doesn't mean it resonates with you. Right. Just because I know that it works, it doesn't mean that. It means that maybe what Chris said about the emulation resonated more with you. Maybe what Leah said or what Michelle said about really knowing yourself, right, is the thing. And that's what this is, knowing yourself. You have to know that you procrastinate and that the other side of it is laser vision. And laser focus and concentration over the last 17 years is the biggest complaint my clients have had. They can't concentrate. They can't focus anymore. They can't keep their mind on one thing because we've got this sensory overload that's bombarding us day in, day out. And look, it's the repetition of thought that has us create beliefs. That's why it's so important to go back to one thing and to focus on one thing and why you want to do it. And then as you do it, like I know Nick is going to keep track of the process she's created to do this incredible launch, reminding you today at 1:00, go look at Jen Lynn's page and you'll see a live interview about this book. Not the painted canvas, the hidden, oh God, the secret. Tell me again.
The silent canvas.
The silent canvas.
Let's just say it's a something canvas. That works.
It's a canvas
it out.
book. It's a psychological thriller. And then at 11 a.m. Eastern Saturday, please don't forget that there's a big book launch. Go spend the buck or two, whatever they charge, to help make this guy, Jack Torrance, a best-selling author.
But even in documenting, right, it's still the foundation because it's one of the first, right, solos that I'm doing, not an anthology. So this is applicable to anything. You will build that foundation through trial and error. Again, the decisions you make in the future will always be changing because you will always be learning and you will always be adapting and finding new ways and better ways of doing it for what you are trying to accomplish. Because the promotion for a psychological thriller is going to be completely different than one for a romance.
Right.
So maybe the foundation won't change, but
Right.
the creativity level and the push and the perspectives you want the audience to get are going to change. You have to be able to constantly be able to roll with it.
Mm-hmm. 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 You're always making decisions. Am I going to use that now? I learned this. Well, I learned that this didn't work. So obviously, when the next iteration comes up, that's something similar, there are going to be things that you will no longer use. This goes to the fact that we're always growing or disintegrating. We're growing in the understanding that we have infinite potential. And so when you came into this room, you had a certain level of conscious awareness about decision, et cetera. But when you leave this room, you have been flooded with information. I see, Leah. Yeah. You've been flooded with information, some of which you're going to adopt and some you aren't. And then the best thing to do is to go back and listen to a video like this, if you're interested and that's where you want to go, because repetition is how we learn. This is why Napoleon Hill, Chris, did this every night and invited these people into his room. And I mean, I could read you the things he said. Emerson, I want you to teach me this. And Armour, I want you to teach me this. So he had figured out, like you said, what are the character or the attributes these people have that you want. And so that is kind of a magical way of absorbing it. If you read The Last Principle of Success, you can do just what Napoleon Hill did. All right, let's see what Sharon Rose has. Who else has something to say? Just jump in. Procrastination is a form of perfectionism. Well, that's the other side. Well, and then the perfectionism comes from fear of criticism. Can't you do that right? Aren't you smart enough? You failed at that before. What's wrong with you?
I honestly have to say part of my procrastination is my dyslexia. I have,
Okay.
and I can't help that. So I honestly, when I think of something, all of a sudden it becomes an octopus with all these different tentacles because my pattern recognition abilities doesn't let me just. And so that's why it takes me a while. So I can honestly say it's not really procrastination. It's procrastination after I figure everything out. And
Yeah,
then it's like, oh, now I
it's
gotta
a
go do it.
process. It's a
Yeah.
process. And if you have dyslexia, your process is going to be different. But the whole idea of what you're saying is to get on the other side of procrastination into action, focused action. But, procrastination is a label, right? I mean, it doesn't mean the same to all of us, but I take your point 100%. You get to tell it the way you want it. I love that you take time to make the decision. As long as you don't get into analysis paralysis. Well, if I do this, this could happen. If I do this, this could happen. But if I took this, then this could happen. And then this could happen. Well, what's happened here when you get into analysis paralysis, you've totally forgot why you're doing it in the first place. You can't be in analysis paralysis and laser focus towards your goal at the same time. One is thinking, laser focus. The other is reaction. So we're always working toward mind over matter, the matter being our reactive fears based on real experiences that are stronger than our conscious mind. But all of us are in the same process here. I hear it in each one of your speaking. We're all aspiring to move toward conscious awareness of our potential. We're all aspiring to recognize when we become fearful and remember that the opposite is also available for us to choose to think. Easier said than done. Practice makes perfect. Who else? Chris, did you have something you wanted to share? Michelle, that was really excellent. Leah, whoever.
Yeah, I would just share this also, and I don't know who said this, but they said never
Be
go
sure
to
to quote it. Be sure to quote it.
I am quoting, but I don't know who the generator is. Never go to sleep without a request to your subconscious mind. And so if I'm in a decision-making moment, I will ask my supermind, right? Because Jim Quick calls it our supermind. Show me the way, right? What decision, which way should I go? And I will tell you that I will get a dream. I'll wake up with some inspiration. So that's been really helpful for me.
And that is awesome. Chris, you had something to share? We got a question here. You can answer the question if you like, or we'll hold it up here for just a minute. I'm happy to answer it.
Sure.
Anyone can. But Chris, you're next.
What does the question say? I can't read it because I'm in a car and it's very tiny text.
Oh, how about unintended procrastination from mental adversities, i.e., multiple days of not feeling able to get out of bed?
That's a really good question because I struggled with that for a while.
Okay.
So first things first, make your bed and take a shower. That's the first thing you have to do. No, I know it sounds so simple,
No,
but
it's great.
but the second you do that, the second you start stringing together even the smallest of victories, and believe it or not, like your surroundings, your environment, making sure it's clean and that you're proud of it and the way it looks is a tremendous thing, because one of the reasons you tend to not want to leave and you experience all this mental fog is because you become lost in clutter of your own reality. So you don't know where your notes are. You don't know where you stored a file on your computer. You don't know like your garbage you haven't taken out. So just do all these basic things. So first thing in the morning, leave a written note of what your intentions are for the day and start checking them off one by one. So just start there. Sit up in the morning. Make sure to sit up straight. Take a deep breath. Take a shower first thing. Clean yourself. Make sure to shave. You know, I'm right now. I'm a victim of it. I didn't do my scrub this morning, but that's because I was up at 5 a.m. to see the sunrise and go for a walk. You know, I'm gonna go home and shave after I do this. And that's it. Just start one step at a time. And then once you're out in nature, once you start doing life again, and you have time to think and breathe and just reconnect with nature and experience and forget all the digital tech of the world, forget all the nonsense, the pressures, the outside BS, just reconnect with who you are as a person. And then you can really start to figure out who you are. Then you get to focus on what you want. And then you start planning on how to get there. But first things first is get your head straight. You got to get your mental game straight. As soon as your mental game straight, everything else is cake. And you start that by getting your stuff in order. You know, the stuff your mom taught you, clean your room, the stuff your dad taught you, tie your shoes, you know, like that stuff. Like just, you know, if you're going to work, go work hard, do a good job at it. Don't complain. Just do what your parents taught you. It works.
Yeah.
And just learn how to adopt it for the digital age.
Beautiful answer. I hope, Aaron, that worked for you.
So I came
Yes.
off my. Can I
Yes,
respond to
please.
Chris?
Yes, absolutely.
I agree with everything that Chris is saying, and you know, not everybody, like there's some people that function in organized chaos. That's their organized chaos. What you're explaining works for me because I think that way too. Oh gosh, I lost my train of thought there for a minute. What was I saying? Organized chaos. All right, somebody else jump in. I can't believe I
Leah,
forgot what I was saying.
Leah,
I do
jump
it
in.
usually.
Okay, that's all right. Hang on. It'll come back to you. Leah, would you like to say something about this? This is a great question, please.
Chris is
Yeah, I
on, I think Chris is talking, but he's on mute. Are you seeing him talking?
Sorry, I created with ChatGPT a little graphic for this.
Sorry, Leah.
And I'll send it to you guys in a private DM to Leslie. She could disseminate it to everybody. It's just a simple pictograph I use to help me get through every day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Leah, I remember. Is it okay if I hop on? Okay. So to take that one step behind, I am bipolar. So in order I feel to be able to make good decisions, I need to be well. So if I am not well, I can't do that. So there were periods of my life where I went through off my meds and getting up and out of bed was not even possible. You know, some people will say it's mind over matter. I am on medication. I have been for 4 years. In those 4 years, I have never had an issue once getting out of bed. Certain mental illnesses or whether or not however you're dealing with it, if you're not dealing with it is the problem, right? Because if you are starting 6 feet under, struggling to get to solid ground for half of the day, you just lost half of your day to progress. So I am grateful that I found what works for me.
Mhm.
That allows me to be well so I can make decisions. And at the time I stepped away from my job, I realized that I also was having an issue with focus, which is something that never affected me. I was getting up feeling like I don't want to go to work today. I love my job, loved the company, loved the team. For me to start feeling like that, something was awry. It's that intuition, that self-awareness of being able to listen to what your gut is telling you. So I had I hate to say it like this, and I'm saying it on here, shit or get off the pot. I had to make a decision. Okay? I had to make a decision. Financially, it's a decision, it affects everything at different levels, right? Financially, it's going to affect me for a little bit. I understand that. But I also made the decision knowing I have a little bit of fallback. But fulfillment wise, my job filled my glass up so much. What was happening is this started filling my glass up so much more. So I had to make a decision. Anyway, thank you for letting me pop back on, Leah, and I finally remembered. And Chris, absolutely loving the shares. I resonate with you very, very much. Thank you.
And Leah, did you want to address this or anything else? We're getting
Yeah,
to-
I would just say, Nick, to just kind of circle back to what you said in the beginning, it comes from knowing yourself. You knew that you couldn't make good decisions in those moments, right? So you did the things that you needed to do to care for yourself. And I'll just share this. One thing I talked to my precious grandson. He's 6 years old. Listen, it's not about what we say to what we listen to ourselves. It's about what we say to ourselves. And I tell him, you know what, Mijo, you're a champion, and champions do hard things. And so whenever he starts to struggle, he's unsure. He's like, Gams, I'm a champion. I said, that's right. And then what? And champions do hard things. That's right. You can make a decision. You can make your own decision.
Yeah, actually, you're feeding through auto-suggestion the very qualities to have him be a confident human. And most of our parents didn't know this. So we said things that were hurtful because they were said hurtful to us. Nick, you're unmuted.
We are what we believe. And it took me a long time to understand that. My mom always told me, God bless her, that I am my own worst enemy, that I was the most critical of myself. And she would tell me, stop speaking about yourself that way. Because I would make condescending comments about myself, right? And therefore, I gave permission to other people to talk to me the same way I was talking to myself. Now that I have decided what I choose to tell myself, I will not accept anyone telling me otherwise. I had to get there to survive.
What I love the thing I love about Nick is that she'll gather information, but she still does it her own way. So don't try to convince her that your way is the better way. This is like, I hate the word should, because when you say you should do it this way, then all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh, I should give up my standards, values, and ideals, the ones I have and hold dear, to follow yours. I don't think so. Right. So really it's more like, would you consider? And that's what this conversation was all about, is considering how people approach and what their challenges are. And, some of the things that we've learned here is that, well, I would just say briefly that Michelle brought to us being true to ourselves. Chris talked about stealing, which I changed to emulating. I hope you don't mind. Aspects and characteristics of people we admire. Leah said, money likes speed. I've never heard that before. And then Joni said that she has actually countered procrastination, and she's very much the other way. And, one last thing I want to share with you. Ashif says quick decisions are unsafe decisions. So I'm going to disagree with Sophocles, because successful people make quick decisions and they're very slow to change them, if at all, because they know what their goal is and they take on nothing, right? They take on nothing at that time that won't take them to their goal. And that's setting a boundary. And that is a challenge for all of us. It's easy to say, But successful people make quick decisions and they're very slow to change them. Now, I tried to explain this to Sophocles when he and I were an item. He just wouldn't have it. He must have been a Capricorn or something. I don't know. He wouldn't listen to me at all. Okay, so last words, everybody. We're coming to the end. So Chris and Leah, I also want to thank very much Michelle and Joni for being here. It means a lot to both of us, doesn't it, Nick, when you come up on stage and you share with us? It's really for you and for all of us. I've learned as much today as you all have. So, famous last words. What would you send us off with, Leah, after this conversation? What would be one thing that you would want us all to remember? Please share.
Yeah, this is the power of the Mastermind Alliance, right? When brilliant minds come together and we share ideas back and forth. And I say the more that you speak your mind, the more that you grow your mind. If you never speak out, you never say anything, then you don't get a chance to battle test it. You don't get a chance to really see if it's really what you really believe, right? Because you may say it and realize, you know what? That doesn't really resonate with me. Or you may hear someone else's feedback and really help you to grow your mind. This is a brilliant conversation. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Absolutely. You're welcome anytime. That is, by the way, the mastermind is the 9th principle of success. And this was the absolute perfect because we share a subconscious mind. As I'm speaking, you're getting ideas. As you're speaking, I'm getting ideas. How does that work? Because we share the ether. Ideas flow from form through form and back into form. We don't understand exactly 100% how it works, but we sure know it works. When I come up with an idea for you and I don't know what you're doing, but I come up with a solution, how can that be? Chris P., how would you leave us today with one thought that we can carry into our week, please?
My one thought is going to be my big announcement, and that is, what if an entire company was formed with this ethos in mind? And that's what my company is. To find out more about what my company is going to be doing, how we plan to launch, pay attention at 4 o'clock today when I speak to Amalia Gardner and announce more of my plans. But I learned live in the moment here. I learned from all of you. I'm going to emulate all of you, as you've seen in the chat. Forgive me for forgetting to credit you as I continue to emulate ideas from you all, but I really do want to build something that is a gift to the world. I am the CEO, but I won't be in charge. The people will be. So this is going to be something that is a gift for everyone. So I hope to see you guys at 4, and then the real announcement, the huge announcement, comes in New Orleans on April 25th.
Oh, that's fantastic. Is that the IEEE conference?
The IEEE, which is the Institute of Electronics and Electrical Engineers. They're the world's foremost group of anything technology or electronic that is built in the world. They set the standards for it. And I'm now a board member for their Seattle chapter.
I saw that. That's fantastic. Tell me what ethos means.
Ethos. It basically means it's going to be the core values, the guiding principles, everything that embodies the organization.
Okay.
So it is going to be a living, breathing organization that's about people. It is going to be what companies are supposed to be, a family that takes care of community.
Oh my gosh, I just think that's awesome, Chris. It's just been a joy getting to know you, Chris. And of course, we don't want to forget that one today live on Jen Lynn's page, you can catch Nick. And then Saturday is the big 11 a.m. Eastern is the big launch of the Silent Canvas. It only takes me 3 or 4 times to get it. Thank you both so much. Nick, what will you leave us with today? And thank you both for your wonderful content today and value. Nick, please.
That, as always, it's an incredible conversation that we have on Mind Over Matter Mondays. If you show up here, you know, there's no way that you're not going to walk away with learning at least one new perspective. It doesn't mean that you would adopt it. I guess what I want to leave everyone with was, again, there was a time in my life where I have always been outspoken, but maybe I wasn't as outspoken as I am now. Not for fear of what other people will think, but because other people perhaps felt me abrasive or blunt or other things. And I didn't necessarily want to be seen that way. However, stepping into my own and who I am has changed my entire life. I have no regrets whatsoever. And if somebody wants to think that that means that I just like to hear myself talk, that's not the case. There's a big difference between somebody liking to hear themselves talk and somebody that's willing to confidently state the way that they feel about something and understand that some people may simply disagree. And that's fine. Um, yeah, so that's what I think that I would like to leave people with. Own your
Thank you.
story and own yourself and own who you are. Okay? Don't not because somebody else, it's not about somebody else. It's about you. You being okay with you every night when you put your head down on your pillow. You knowing that in your heart you are a good person and you are backing up your words with actions so that people can see it. You can say whatever you want, but unless people are actually seeing your actions, okay, then you can't expect people to think differently. Now, I know I kind of said contradictory there. Don't care what people think, and then people think differently. There is always two sides of the same coin. That's what I would leave people with.
Mhm. Yes, yes, that's beautiful. And perception is always changing too. So based on your point, if you're not out there doing, then I won't be able to see how you've grown or how you're different or also view you differently because I've been growing. This was a really excellent conversation. And I would say to all of you, I am in deep gratitude. I've moved Leah and Michelle and Chris and Joni has left the stage. We thank you so much. Please come back and we'll have something exciting for next week. This is a beautiful week in March. We've got a lot of things going on, both Nick and I. Make sure that you follow and connect with us. And everybody that was here, right? Everybody that was here loves this kind of conversation. These are your people. These are people who understand that you're on a path to higher awareness of your infinite potential, constantly surprising yourself, doing things. I just had a difficult decision to make in the last few days that had been bothering me for a long time. And honestly, I woke up that morning a few days ago and the answer was there. So remember that we're co-creators. Whatever's heavy on your heart, God in the universe does hear. Whatever you call, whatever name there is, we do have a partner who looks out for us besides the ones that are human that live right here. And so as we end this stream today, I'll sing you out of the room. I thank you all for being here and leave at any time, but I'll do this one more time and see if I can do it a little bit better. And Nick, you can sing along with me if you want. So everyone have a fabulous week. And here we go. Let's hear from Eric Clapton again. Deb, I can hear you harmonizing out there already. I know you. Deb is in theater and she's brilliant. Get to know Deb Haas. If I could reach the stars, I'd pull one down for you. Shine it on my heart so you could see the truth. That this love I have inside is everything it seems. But for now I find it's only in our dreams, and we can change the world. Nick and I will be the sunlight in your universe. You would think our love was really something good, baby. If we could, and we will change the world. And if I would be a queen, even for one day, I'd dub you as the princess. I'd have it no other way. And our love would rule in the kingdom we've made. Till then we'd be a fool, wishing for the day we can change the world. We will be the sunlight in your universe. You will think our love is really something good, baby, if we could change the world. Baby, if we could change the world. Yeah. I could change the world with Nick, and we would be the sunlight in your universe. You would know our love was really something good, baby, if we could change the world. Baby, if we could change the world. Baby, if we could change the world. Bye-bye, everyone.